Today on the show, I want to talk a little bit about standing up, the power of the people. Connectors, what's up? DK here. Hope you're having a good day. Hey, I want to tell a story from something that happened here locally in my community, but it speaks to a larger and really amazing thing that could and should happen every day in your community. And that's people standing up. Now, before you get crazy here, what I'm not talking about here is standing up with pitchforks and torches and Bastille Day, take it down. Not that kind of standing up. Honestly, I mean even a greater standing up. The notion of standing up when it comes to advocacy, being heard. And often it is mistaken that the only way you can be considered an advocate is by standing up forcefully and yelling and screaming and defending a position that is not taken by the status quo. That happens a lot, and as many of you know from me, one of my favorite quotes that I use a lot is speak truth to power, even if your voice shakes. But there's another one that I think is powerful as well. And that's the notion of standing up to be announced, to say, I am here and I am willing to participate. And I'll give you what the story is here in my community in York, Pennsylvania. So because of the last couple of elections and people moving into different positions, we had 2 seats available in our local city council. And those seats needed to be filled to finish out a current term that has now been vacated. There's 2 seats for this. So there was a special meeting last night that culminated over the course of the last few weeks where people could stand up and say, yes, I'd like to be considered for these seats. And the council itself was reviewing resumes and CVs and all that kind of stuff and whittled it down to a finalist group of 7 men and women. And from there, they had a public special meeting where they presented themselves, their credentials, their vision, their voice. And then the council chose 2 people to fill out the city council. Two well-qualified and wonderful people got those 2 seats, and kudos to them for being a part of the now York City Council. And that's an amazing story in and of itself. But that's not the story I'm sharing with you today. The story I want to talk to you about starts with a number, and that number is 29. 29 people express interest in those 2 seats. 29 for 2. 29 people. 29 people said, yes, I want to stand up, be heard, and share myself, my story, my leadership, my vision, and represent the rest of the community here on the city council. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news recently, you probably get a sense that politics and tension that's there right now. Needless to say, this is one of those times where there's a lot of partisanship and a lot of us versus them back and forth. And as a leader back in the day, Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill once said, all politics is local. I actually think all public policy is local is the better way to say that. But nevertheless, 29 people said, hell yes, I want to be heard, and I want to give myself over to some public service to support my community and the families that support this community. And I just got to say, that is amazing. Too often we're looked at as generational. Millennials aren't as engaged. They're engaged in a different kind of way. Those of us in the Gen X community are sort of adrift, floating around, wondering when we're going to get our shot, never getting it. From the baby boomers, who are a huge generation. And there are all these different pushes and pulls. But one of the big notions that we always worry about is public service. And who is going into public service? And are we giving ourselves a good bench? Have you seen the United States Congress? A little old, a little recycled, if you will. The youth, the young bloods, the young bucks, the folks that are coming up, where are they? But hang on just a second. Forget about age for a second. Let's just talk about that number of 29. 29 people here in the city of York said, yes, I want to stand up and be heard. And that's the part that I admire the most, and that's the part that I love the most. The fact that someone just stood up, 29 people, stood up. What are the qualifications for leadership? I don't think there are qualifications for leadership. It's just the notion of understanding what the role of leadership is, wanting to be servants for the greater good, the good of the order, and the community writ large. I think those men and women who stood up and said, yes, I would like to be a part of this, has to be absolutely commended and absolutely celebrated. The two who won, kudos to them. They are fantastic, and they, I'm sure, will do a wonderful job. But it's the 29 of you that I say bravo. The city of York, Pennsylvania, like a lot of cities in America right now, is struggling to find an identity, struggling to find their footing and find where we're going to be moving forward. A lot of us are in the community supporting, cheerleading, backing, advocating for, supporting the promotion of, telling the story of the city of York. But it takes people standing up and also saying, not only do I want to be a part of that storyline, I want to be a part of the message of its government. As many of you know, I'm a political junkie. I love politics, living in DC for 16 years. You can't help but really be absorbed in politics on a national level. And it always is amazing to me that the national media often talks about the angst, the lack of drive in public service. Where is it going to come from? And I'm very proud that my two worlds of politics as well as the nonprofit sector have so many great interconnections and so many opportunities and potential for even more, that it just makes me proud to know that so many men and women wanted to be heard and wanted to be counted. And not for the reasons of power, but for the reasons of voice. Voicing for the voiceless, or helping an agenda move forward, or realizing that at some point, we all just have to stand up and say, count me. Good on you, 29 strong. It was damn proud. So guys, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. My name is DK, and I'm with Connect the Dots Movement. We're a consulting shop dealing with nonprofit power. We work with nonprofit organizations and social enterprise engines to help them with their strategic planning and marketing and board building and messaging and all the components that bring the nonprofit sector together and make impact on communities like yours. So if you're interested in talking to me, here's my email, doug@connectthedotsmovement.org. I also have a Facebook page, which is right here, facebook.com/connectthedotsmovement. And I'm doing a Q&A later on this week. And so if you want a question to ask to me, another great way to ask a question is right here from @WeConnectDots. That's our Twitter handle. And I take questions from there and answer them in Q&A with DK, which, as I said, coming up later this week. So you get your questions in. Thank you again for hanging out with me, guys. I really do appreciate it. My name is DK. I'm at Connect the Dots Movement, and you have just been connected. I'll see you around. Jacket, right? Yeah. Huh? Old school, man. Skipping Joe. What's up, Philip Gibbon? Nonprofit power.